This is the one test that, if you pass, will make your clinic thousands of dollars every single month. But if you fail, you're losing out on potential leads, lighting ads money on fire, and not growing your clinic as quickly as possible. This test is called the Z test, and it includes some of the most important factors into whether or not somebody will go to your website and convert into a lead. The Z test is the natural way that people read your website. Think about how you read a book. This is no different. If you take a look at this heat map, you can see how naturally somebody would view and read your website. And the Z test shows how important it is to have content throughout where your eyes will go. This is especially important with your header because if you don't pass the Z test above the fold or before the user scrolls, the odds of them bouncing off your website go up dramatically. And this is exactly what I'm going to go over in this video and teach you how to use the Z test to convert more of your website visitors into potential patients. So let's talk about the Z test and what should be included and where. As you can see here, this is your pretty standard website setup. You've got, a spot for your logo, the navigation bar, a big old headline, some other text there. And this is really where the Z test comes into play. And again, what we're looking at here is what we call above the fold. So when you go to, or somebody goes to your website and they land on this website, this is pretty much what they're going to see before they scroll at all. And why the Z test is so important and why we look at it on the heading side of things is because if this setup here doesn't align with what that person was going to your website for, they're going to X out, you're going to lose them. And the first 5 seconds that they're on your website are the most important part of the website. So that's why the Z test is so important. And having all of these factors dialed in becomes extremely important. So with the Z test, we're obviously starting in the top left corner of the website. That's where your eyes are going to go immediately. So what you want in that top left corner of the website is going to be your logo. When somebody lands on the website, they should know that they are in the right place, and it should, either, be your brand's logo like we have here. It should say something about like who you are, the physical therapy clinic. Maybe it's like this B, and then it could say like, Boston Physical Therapy at the bottom, or Bolt Physical Therapy, or something like that, just reaffirming to them that they made it to the right spot. Because this is the first place where everybody's eyes go when they land on that website. Again, it's like reading a book. You start in the top left corner. From here, the first step of the Z test is your eyes scroll the top of the page. They go over to the right hand side, and they go over to the top right corner. This is the $1 million corner here, right? If you don't nail this part of your website, you're going to be in deep trouble trying to convert website traffic into leads, because what this part should do, this top right corner, this should be where you have a very clear call to action on what people should do moving forward. So, here we have book now. That's fairly generic, but it is like saying like, hey, if you click this, you can book our service. A lot of the clinics that we work with inside of Patch will have a book your free 15-minute phone consultation, book a free consultation, something along those lines. What you don't want here is for this button to blend in with the rest of your navigation bar. You don't want it to just say contact us, because again, that's just like a soft call to action. Learn more is also a very soft call to action. And you want this button to show them like, hey, here's the clear next step on what you need to do and what you need to take in order to work with us. As we go down the Z test, we obviously go to the top right corner, and then we go down to the bottom left corner, where we read the next lines. And this is where the heading and the subheading of the above the fold comes into play. And within this Z test, this is where we start to look at the grunt test. And this is kind of question one of the grunt test, where the first two questions of the grunt test go into how do you make somebody's life better, and then what is it exactly that you do. And our heading and our subheading here should answer those questions. And I really like the heading of the website to talk about how do we make somebody's life better? So we have it here, get out of pain lightning fast. Like we obviously have this like little, Bolts logo here. So I was getting a little cheeky with the copy, but the most important thing is we're telling people how we're making their life better, which is getting them out of pain. Lightning fast makes it fun, and it kind of sets us apart. The second question of that grunt test is what exactly is it that you do? And then we have here performance physical therapy in Tampa. That's perfect. That actually checks an SEO box as well, which we're not talking about when we're going over the Z test here. But again, we're doing a really good job here with the Z test where we're starting in the top left corner. We're going over to the top right corner, and now we're going down to the bottom left corner. We've got our heading. We're passing the grunt test. This all looks really good. The last part of the Z test is going to be going from that bottom left over to the bottom right. We should run into another call to action here. This call to action should not be different than what's in the top right corner. We don't want to confuse people. We don't want to say, schedule a free appointment and then book a phone consultation, having two different call to actions. A lot of people will have request more information or pricing or something like that. The less options, the better. We want people to take one step forward. You just need to figure out what you want that one step to be. But you can see here very clearly, the path that your eyes go, the heat map here, it's in a Z pattern. And there's very specific things that you need to run into when you have this Z pattern here. What you need to make sure is you have all four of these things on your above the fold in the Z test pattern. If you even just don't have one of these things, then your odds of somebody converting go down significantly. So, do this self test on your website right now. Go to your website, do not scroll at all, and see do you have all four of these parts here? Does your above the fold on your homepage, on your PT services page, does it pass the Z test? And if it doesn't, make sure it does. So let's dive into, let's look at a couple different websites here and let's see if they actually pass this Z test, and we can do some live demonstrations here. All right. So this is a physical therapy clinic in Boston. This is actually my old physical therapy clinic in Boston. And, we can take a look. So if we want to, again, we're looking at the four things that should pass in the Z test. We're looking at the top left corner where the logo should be. We're looking at the top right corner where there should be a clear call to action. We're looking at number 3, which is going to be our heading and our subheading. We want to make sure that those pass the grunt test. And then part number 4 is going to be another call to action that we're running into, again, to solve this Z test here. So one thing that I want to talk about too, this is kind of another test, but I think it falls in with the Z test as well, is this grunt test that I keep talking about. So when you're looking at what falls into that Z formation, you also want to make sure you have all 4 of these parts, but you want to make sure that you're above the fold and your Z pattern passes what we call the grunt test. So the grunt test, it's also called the 3rd grade reading test. You may have heard it called a couple different things. Really what it is it should answer 3 different questions for you. Number 1, how does your product or service make that person's life better? So again, what problems do you solve for that person if they go to that website? Number 2 is going to be, what exactly is it that you do? And then number 3 is going to be, what is the clear next step for working with you, buying your service, booking an appointment, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's look at Ripple's website here and let's see if it passes the grunt test. So question number 1, how does our product or service make their life better? You can see very clearly within the header, we have keep doing what you love no matter how hard you push it. Ripple's avatar and the demographic that they work with are very much people who push it. They're active adults. They're running triathlons. They're golfing 36 holes over the weekend, skiing for 3 days in a row. They are very much pushing the limits of what their body's capable of doing. So this will resonate with them. People that land on this website, this will make sense to them. Well, you always want to avoid. So I would say this passes question number one. But what I would say you want to avoid when you're looking at the Z test and the grunt test within your heading here is overcomplicating the copy. You don't want to get like too complex, too witty. A lot of times I'll go to clinics' websites and see something like reach your summit or overcome the obstacles, or it's just like some text that has nothing to do with getting out of pain, or getting back to the things that they love doing. And for the reader and somebody who doesn't know what physical therapy is, they're going to land on that page, be like, I have no fucking idea what you guys do. And it's going to make it a lot harder for them to want to move forward and continue working together. So that's something to always keep in mind. So grunt test number one, we're past there. Grunt test number two is, what exactly is it that you do? I love this always in the subheading text. Again, this is really good for SEO purposes as well. This is performance physical therapy for active lifestyles in Boston. Perfect. Performance physical therapy for active lifestyles. This is exactly what they do. And then the third question is, what is the clear next step and how do we move forward with step number one? And you can see we've got our call to actions here. Book your 15-minute phone call. Those are clear step one. So on the grunt test side of things, this looks good. Very happy with this. Let's look at our Z test and see if it passes there. So if we start in the top left corner here, we've got their logo. It says Ripple, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Even if somebody doesn't know who Ripple is and they click an ad, that ad will say Ripple Physical Therapy. Then they'll go to the page. It's just reconfirming that they are where they're supposed to be, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. If we follow our eye path over to the top right corner, we've got our book your 15-minute phone call here. That's a very clear next step. The button pops out. It's not a white button that blends in with the background. That looks really good. I would say, I like how this one is more in this yellow color. I would like for that to be here as well, just to make it stand out a little bit more. As we go down into the Z test, the one thing that stands out with me is I think this would pass the Z test if this heading and the subheading was in the middle of the page. Now, if you go on mobile, it probably is on the middle of the page. I'm being a little bit hard on Ripple, obviously. So I'm going to say that they don't pass this because of this situation here. In the middle, I would want them to just center this because my eyes are kind of going over here. There's a lot of space going on over here. I just don't love that. But we know that this passes the grunt test, which is great. If we get to the bottom left corner and our eyes go here, we do hit this button. The button is the same as the top right button, but we just have so much open space over here. I think it could be better. So I'm going to say that Ripple failed the Z test. A simple shift over to the center with their heading will make this actually pass here and just use up the space a little bit better. Let's get into this clinic. This is Elevation Athletics. Same thing again. Let's look at the grunt test wise. What are the next steps to move forward? Book a free consult. Book a free consult. Perfect. Check there. That looks good. Yeah. How does our product or service help people? So helping you get out of pain and achieve your wellness goals. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. And then what exactly is it that you do? Performance physical therapy in Fort Worth. Boom. That looks perfect. Going through the Z test now. If we start in the top left corner, this is a big, bold logo here, which I love. Elevation Athletics, Physical Therapy and Performance. This is exactly what we're looking for. As we go over to the top right corner here, we've got our call to action button, which we've already talked about. That looks great. You can see here, different from Ripple, the heading and the subheading is right in the middle of the page here, which that's where my eyes are glued to, which is perfect. The one thing I would say is we would probably want this in just a little bit different text here. They could be doing this for SEO purposes, which totally is fine as well. But just visually, user experience wise, that's kind of what I would want there. And then if we go from the bottom left, finishing off that Z test, we hit our call to action button. Not a ton of open space here. This all looks good. So I would say that Elevation Athletics Z test passed. Let's go over to ATI. ATI is obviously a huge physical therapy company. They probably have a massive marketing budget. They probably have a marketing team on staff. So let's see how they do with this. Let's start with the grunt test, right? Okay, so um, what are the next steps, and what do I need to do in order to move forward? So we've got because again they're a bigger clinic here, and this is just ATI's actual website. Request an appointment, find a location, request an appointment. I would say for them, they pass this. The one thing that I would say is that there's just a lot of options here. We got to pay my bill, find a location, request an appointment, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure that they're a little bit more sophisticated than just having this one homepage. I'm sure their ads go to different pages, and these things aren't showing up there. So I'm okay with how this is set up. So I think that looks totally fine. What exactly is it that they offer? So we can see discover the power of physical therapy with in clinic, online, and hybrid physical therapy. Why wait? So this is just a lot of text here. There's a lot going on, and I kind of had to find the physical therapy here. I think that what they're trying to do, I think what they should do is get rid of this move better, live better, and some of this, some of this like copy down here where they're explaining exactly what it is that they do and how they make people's lives better. Question number 3 for the grunt test. I think they could use that here to create like a really awesome heading, which would be much better, much more powerful than just like move better, live better. So I think in both situations, they're failing this. There's just too much copy here. This isn't like obviously it's talking about like how you make someone's lives better, but I think the copy could be just a little bit more elevated here. So I would say on both of those grunt test questions, they're failing. On the Z-test side of things, if we go to the top left corner, we've got ATI physical therapy. That's perfect. We already talked about our call to action buttons. These look really good. As we know, we get to the middle here. This is like formatted correctly, but goddamn, this is just way too big of a paragraph here. This needs to be trimmed down, and it should just be like very specific on what exactly it is that they do. So it could even say physical therapy to help you move better, live better. I think down there that would be better. And then they could take some of this like really good copy on the second half of this paragraph and then add that as their actual header. They do have their call to action button going from the bottom left corner over to the bottom right corner. So that looks good. But overall for ATI, they get a fail. Going to the Method Physical Therapy Clinic here. Again, grunt test, right? So we're looking at, what is the clear next step here? So we've got the book now and we've got the schedule now. I actually tested both of these buttons. Both of these buttons go to a place where they can book and they can schedule. So I'm totally fine with those two buttons having different names there because it goes to the same thing and they're really doing the same thing and they mean the same thing. So I think step 1 there, that is totally fine. The next thing, how does their service make someone's life better? Move well, move often. That's their tagline for them, their branding. That's throughout their whole Instagram strategy that they have. So I really like that. And then, the Method, performance, and physical therapy. That's exactly what they do. So the grunt test wise, even though they have the like subheading and the actual heading kind of flipped, I don't mind it. I think that looks totally fine. Not really worried about that. So grunt test all looks good. If we go into their Z test, we have the top left corner here, the Method, performance, physical therapy. Again, says who they are. So people are in the right spot, physical therapy. They double know they're in the right spot. That looks good to me. As our eyes go to the top right corner, we've got our clear call to action. This stands out with that blue on the blacked out photo that they have in the background here. So I think that looks really good. This could be moved up a touch more, but it's in the center, and our eyes, they land right into our heading and our subheading. So that looks good. Going from bottom left corner to bottom right corner, we've got our button. So I will give a passing grade to the Method physical therapy. Select physical therapy, probably a trend here that you're noticing. Some of these bigger clinics. I think you can probably tell right off the bat. I don't probably need to go into this too much. Man, there's just a lot going on here. And one of the biggest things with the Z test is within those 4 points that we're talking about, there shouldn't be any other confusion anywhere else on the above the fold. And you can see here, there's just so many options: injury finder, our services, your experience, why choose us, partnerships, request an appointment, pay my bill. Again, it's just there's a lot going on there. So, like grunt test wise, without even going into the 3 questions, this does not pass the grunt test because I have no idea what my next step is if I'm a new patient. I suppose I will request this, but I'm probably going to click one of these and just my brain is going to go elsewhere with that. So this, again, if a caveman or a third grader went to this website, they really would not know what their next step is or what these people do. Even the image in the background, we didn't talk about that a ton within the Z test. These are people gardening. Like I have no like why what does that have to do with physical therapy? I have no idea. So I think overall, just grunt test wise, this is gonna fail. If we look at the Z test, they do a couple of good things. They got the select physical therapy. That looks good. Again, if this physical therapy wasn't here and this was just select in a tree, I would assume this is a gardening company. I really would have no idea what it is that they did. As I go over here, again, there's a lot of nav bar options here, and then the big one, right, is like there's no call to action button here at all, which they need to have. As I go over, again, my eyes in the middle, we're looking at people doing yard work. I don't know, they a landscaping company. I don't really know. I'd have to go way over here to find the power of physical therapy, helping you get back to life and the things you enjoy. That's fine. It's a little meh, but it's okay. And then it's a request an appointment button. So obviously, overall, select PT gets a fail. Last one we'll go over here. This is going to be 865 physical therapy. Starting with the grunt test, right? Okay. What's the next step? Book your free consult, schedule a free consult. I would like for both of these so these both are talking about free consult and schedule consult. I saw this phone here, so my brain immediately went phone consults, which is totally fine because the text, both of the texts say the same thing. So I think that that's okay. I'm actually totally fine with that. What is it that they do? So we have here performance physical therapy for active adults in Knoxville. Great. How do we make your life better if you use our product or service? Elevate your game, live pain free. Again, we've got somebody running on the treadmill in the background with the logo. I really like that. I think that all looks good. If we go to the Z test now, we go to the top left corner here. We've got 865 PT. Boom, perfect. We go over to the top right corner. We've got our book your free phone consult. We already talked about the heading and the subheading. This lands perfectly within our Z test. And then if we go bottom left corner over to the bottom right corner, we run into the button, schedule a free phone consult. This is really good. This one gets a pass for me. So hopefully you guys are getting a little bit of an understanding of what I'm looking for when I'm evaluating people's websites. And just remember that above the fold for your website is hands down the most important thing that you can really optimize and dialed in, because that's going to get you more time on your website. It's going to earn that scroll for people to try to find out more about what you have going on. And just remember, these are the 4 big things that you need to have on your website. You got to have the top left logo, top right call to action button, probably the most important thing out of all this. You've got to have a grunt a heading and a subheading that passes the grunt test. That's going to be part number 3. And then we're going to have our call to action button, which will catch your eye when you're going from the bottom left to the bottom right corner. So if you guys like this, if you want a little bit more information on how to develop your website, how to build your website, what you can be doing for your website, if you head over to the link in the description, we've got 4 free downloads for you. There's a high converting website checklist. So it's going to be a full checklist on all the things that you need to have on your website to make sure that it's converting at its highest level. We use this internally with Patch when we're evaluating other websites when they're coming on board with us. And when we're building our websites for our clients as well, this is the website checklist that we use to make sure that we're doing all of the right things. The second thing is going to be a wireframe template that you can use. This is basically helping you figure out like what sections you need to have and where. If you haven't listened to one of my podcasts that I put out all about the 5 things that you need to have on your website, that dives into the wireframe and the certain things that you need to put on the website and what sections you need to have on there. So this Canva template will help you just visually design all those things and see where you need to add all that in. You can also get a free SEO audit for your website and a free local SEO audit as well to find out how you're doing on the keyword side of things, which is going to be the SEO audit. And then the local SEO audit is going to be more so how you're doing on the local side of things. So Google Maps, local listings, etc. So if you guys want that, make sure you head on over to the link in the description. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content.